I'm sorry. So it's been honored. So World Federal Athletic Training Association, we kind of like collaborating with them to send a link to them, kind of having a like opportunity to let the people know what we are doing as an like student organization. So it's pleasure to those opportunity to help us. So if you are able to like put the camera on, like please do that. Also, we're gonna have a like kind of briefly question time at the end of the lecture, but if you have any question, put the question at any time on during on the chat. You can use that. I'm gonna pass the like introduction and meeting organization to Hannah today, so I'm gonna pass it.
Hi, I'm really excited to introduce Craig. He was one of my very important mentors to me in my undergrad, and it's really exciting to learn about how he ended up working for the Olympic Games and some of the other experiences he's had with the Paralympics and things of that nature. And like TC said, we're really excited to work with the World Federation of Athletic Training and Therapy, so we can kind of keep making that connection on a global level. And I'll let Craig take it from there.
Yes, well, thank you all so much for the invite. I love doing these things. I mean, it's fantastic. The fact that you all are, moving on in your profession and learning, and hopefully at some point you'll be in your jobs and doing the same thing that I'm doing, kind of sharing your knowledge after a couple years of experience. Just a little bit about myself. So I've been at Guilford College for 23 years. I've been a certified and licensed athletic trainer for 28 years. I spent 5 years at a high school working as an athletic trainer. And like I said, I've been at Guilford College for 23 years. And, when I first started there, it was more or less I was teaching full time and working as an athletic trainer. So I would say it was about 75% faculty, 25% athletic training. I was traveling, doing all of that stuff, all the fun things with athletic training, but yet at the same time teaching full time, doing advising, doing all of those things. And then I went and started a doctoral degree in 2001 and finished a doctoral degree in exercise science, human performance at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. So, again, I taught full time, did all of that, had a family, got married, built a house, did all of those things. But during that time, I would tell you that probably some of the best experiences that I was able to have were again, being part of the Athletic Training Association for the state of North Carolina. You all is fantastic. You have a student organization. Definitely get involved and do those things. A lot of experiences that you're going to get in the field are going to come from your networking within these types of environments. Also within the state association, go to the meetings. People that you meet, the people that you network with, are going to be fantastic people that you never know that could just say, hey, call up and hey, we're going to have this event. That's kind of how I really got started, to be honest with you, with getting involved in doing different things. I joined the state association. I was part of I was on the board, our board of directors, for a couple of years. I've still been part of the planning committee for our state association. As far as our symposium, our yearly symposium, I've done that for over 10 years. Did a lot of research in athletic training, focusing on first responders versus high school athletic trainers, and spent, doing research, written a couple chapters in a book, published a couple articles, and did a lot of presentations with the Department of Public Instruction. And so just getting involved in that aspect within your field to really, somebody told me years ago, what's really important for you all to think about is how are you going to make a difference, right? And what is going to be the way that, your specialties What are your strengths? If your strengths are, in an administrative role, working with people, working on a committee for your state association, get involved with those things. I mean, that is really, really critical. I think, as a young professional, without a doubt. Now, when it comes to the opportunities that I had to work with, the Special Olympics, and I will tell you the first thing that I did when I was when I got to Guilford College. But this is back in, so you got to think 2001. Back in 2004 was when they did away with the internship route in athletic training. And so for the first 3 or 4 years, we still had students that were going through the internship route, not an accredited athletic training program. And so we're not accredited. We don't have an athletic training accredited program, nor will I don't foresee us ever going to an accredited program, especially now with everything being at the graduate level. So what I did was I would take students and I contacted the local Special Olympics, and I knew we had the state games were held in High Point, about 25 minutes down the road from Guilford College. I contacted the medical supervisor for it, and I picked up the phone and said, "Hey, my name is Craig Eilbacher. I'm at Guilford College. I'm an athletic trainer. I would love to help out with the Special Olympics as a medical person." And in a medical capacity. And they said, "Oh gosh, this would be great." And I said, "What I can do for you is I can provide students that are first aid and CPR certified, and on top of that, we are very fortunate at Guilford, and I know Hannah can speak to this. We have a resident or physicians. There's a resident program in Greensboro at Cone Hospital." And our team doctors were the ones that are in charge of the fellowship. So all I'd have to do is call him and say, "Hey, I need 4 or 5 doctors who wants to volunteer for the Special Olympics." I'd have 4 or 5 doctors sitting, on a Saturday and a Sunday coming down, and we'd go cover and have a blast at the Special Olympics. So it was just reaching out and and saying, "Hey, I'd like to do this." And so it just kind of every year it got more and more, and I got more students involved and more doctors. They would call me and say, "Can I get involved? I want to come help." And like I said, I did it for 8 years, 8 or 9 years, and then it just they moved the state games. They moved them down to Charlotte, so I ended up not traveling down to Charlotte. So our team doctor, who happened to be Bert Fields at the time. The Greensboro put a bid in to get the U.S. National Figure Skating Championships. So we've hosted the U.S. Figure Skating Championships in Greensboro 3 years. We've done it for 3 years. We had it 1 year. I think we waited 3 years. Then we had another 3 years, and they came back. That was fantastic. And so luckily enough for us, for myself, our team doctor was the head physician for the National Figure Skating Championships. So, this is the National Figure Skating Championships where they were, trying to figure out who was going to go to the World Games, and then also who was going to represent the U.S. at the Olympics. And so I got to work with Nathan Chen. I got to work with some, really the highest level figure skaters, men and women, in the U.S. So it was, for me, it was talking to our team physician. Said, "Hey, we need some help. Craig, can you help get involved? Can you help coordinate, the athletic trainers?" And so I got involved with help coordinating some of the athletic trainers for the event, which was fantastic. So we did a great job, and on top of that, it was working long hours. You're on the ice. We had to train for it because I never worked hockey. I never worked anything on ice, so we had to learn how to walk on ice, right? And how to spine board on ice, how to move somebody off of the boards. If they're on ice. Has anybody in here worked with hockey? Has anybody had an opportunity to work with ice hockey at all? That's on the call? It's a different animal. We had to wear these kind of what they call their yak tracks, and it was interesting enough the folks at the International Olympic Committee, because the International Olympic Committee sent representatives to the National Figure Skating Championships, because that was going to be, again, our folks from the U.S. that were going to represent the U.S. at the World Games and then at the Olympics. So we had IOC folks that were there, and we set up a whole clinic. So we were responsible. We had physicians, we had physical therapists, we had athletic trainers, we had massage therapists, we had registered nurses, and we set up a full basic clinic at the Greensboro Coliseum, for this. And so it was great. I got to work with a variety of different professionals. And, you're in a small area, and it was basically, okay, this is what your responsibilities are. This is what the doctors are doing. This is what the physical therapists are doing. So it was really cool. And I got to do that for 3 years, 3 times. And every time it got more and more. And what was really interesting was my time working with Nathan Chen. He had actually been hurt. And our team doctor, according to the International Olympics, what I will tell you is the Olympic Committee and working with the Olympics is very interesting. We were told not to, one, cut the costumes of the figure skaters. So imagine this: when we went through our training and our the beginning part, meeting with the Olympic medical doctors, they came in and said, you are not to cut the costume. These are $15,000 costumes. And somebody raised their hand and said, well, what if we have to cut? They said, you will not cut the costume. And we said, okay, well, what if we have this? And they said, we are not cutting the costume unless we are it is a life-threatening situation. And I mean, it's got to be deemed by the physician saying, this is life-threatening, we're cutting. Okay, so that was one thing. The other thing is the International Olympic Committee, and working with those folks, it was, you are not allowed to talk to the coaches. You are not allowed to talk to the International Olympic Committee members that were there. Only people who could talk to those folks were the two team doctors we had, or the head physicians. Those were our Guilford College's head physicians. So they were the only two. And so, interestingly enough, Nathan Chen gets hurt, comes in, kind of was hurt a little bit, and our doctor looks over at me and says, Craig, he said, Nathan has an ankle injury. He said, I went over there, I looked at him with our doctor. Doctor said, Craig, what can you do to tape this? He's got to put on, thousands and thousands of dollars skates. These skates are, there's not much room in a figure skate. And so I had to figure out how to tape his ankle so he could still wear his figure skate and still be able to have feeling in his skate so he could move and do these jumps and all these different twists. So the doctor, our team doctor, told the International Olympic Committee member who came in, and I'll be honest with you, you know who I'm talking about, Nathan Chen. He did win the gold medal at the last Olympics, Winter Olympics for us, but he was about 15, 16 years old at the time, and they had 3 Olympic committee members assigned to just Nathan. And they followed him around. He followed him around like a puppy dog, truthfully. But he was our gold medal hopeful. And so our team doctor, I taped him. The International Olympic Committee member, the director, looked at me and said, you will be working with him for the next 3 days. And I said, okay. Our team doctor said, Craig, you will have to work with him. So I taped him. I had to change my schedule to be able to come in at different times than when he was going to be there. Because I was by chance that I happened to be there at the time he came in. But I was at that time, then our team doctor said, Craig, you're the only one that can work with him. I was granted permission to go out to the ice with them, to talk to the IOC, International Olympic Committee members, in order to help make a decision on whether he was going to actually compete at the national games. So it was It was a little nerve-wracking, I'll be honest with you, because it is televised. It's on TV. They tell you, don't fall on the ice, don't mess up. The last thing we want is news coverage of our athletic trainers and medical staff sliding on the ice and sliding into a competitor who has gone down with an injury. Luckily, we did not have to go on the ice. In my 3 years, I did not have to walk on the ice, and go attend to an injured athlete. Now, these are professional athletes. I mean, well, we say professional. They're, I guess, considered amateur because it's the Olympics. But they are, technically, they're professional athletes. So that's how I got involved. But the big thing was I adapted when I was asked to do something. And instead of just saying, well, this is not going to be my schedule here, whatever, I guess I could come in early or not. I in essence almost worked 2 shifts direct, back to back, just because Nathan was coming in at a different time. And so that kind of helped me. So when we did the next one, it was, hey, Craig, can you work this? We had all these athletic trainers, and, great thing is, hey, I want the competition day. So we had a practice ice where athletes would go practice, and then we had the competition ice. And so I was able, because of my hard work and willingness to adapt and come in at different times, I was able to get the times where they were actually televising. So it was actually on TV. I saw the gold medal round, the gold medal skates and things like that. So it was really cool in that aspect. The next thing that I got to do with the Olympics was I got to work the Rio the trials for table tennis, which was was interesting, because out of nowhere we find out that table tennis, the trials for Reno for the summer games was going to be in Greensboro. So our team doctor again was they called to Moses Cone, because Moses Cone or really Cone Health is our really big hospital in Greensboro, and that's who they used. And so he's a sports medicine physician, but he's also our team doctor. And he said, hey, Craig, I need some help. I need some coverage with the Rio trials here for table tennis. So, heck, yeah, without a doubt. So I picked a couple times, and I went and covered as a athletic trainer, medical. And I can share this story. This is absolutely incredible. We had a young lady who was competing again. The winners of this tournament, of this trials, were the ones that were representing the U.S. at the Olympic Games. So the Olympic Games were a month away, and so these athletes were competing to see who was going to go to the Summer Olympics to compete. And so we had 2 athletes who were getting ready to compete, and I had to go in and I had to wrap up I had a quad strain on a young lady who was getting ready to compete in the championships. So I had wrapped her up, got her set. She went back down, getting ready to go out to the table. And the International Olympic Committee member, the director for the table tennis, comes up and looks at the 2 participants, and they had to change shirts because their shirts were too close in what they looked like. And they said, you're going to need to change this, you're going to need to change this. I didn't have to go on out there to help anybody nobody got hurt during it, but just to kind of give you an idea of what, working with International Olympic, Committee folks, how detailed it really is. And, they come up, and you had to make sure that the tape that I was using was the nude color tape, so it kind of matched the skin. So it couldn't be seen. So there was a lot of stipulations, and you learn that as you go. It's not anything that I knew as an athletic trainer going in. It's what you're told. Like, these are the rules and regulations. And they only got so much time if they got hurt, to stop and get medical attention and so forth. So it was, so that was neat. And then the other thing, which really wasn't the International Olympic Committee, stuff, or part of the, Olympic stuff that was folks were getting ready to go to was the Anastia Luke in gymnastics. So that was held in Greensboro, and again, I had another opportunity to go do it. Now, folks, I didn't get paid for any of this. None of this was paid, right? This was all volunteer. And I remember my wife, looking at me, he's like, why are you doing this? Why are you spending all, you volunteer for all this stuff. But it's the experience, right? So, I've put it on my resume. Now, I've been at Guilford 23 years. I haven't changed jobs or, really had anybody, look at a resume for me I have no plans of going anywhere. But if I were, and my resume would speak to, all the different volunteering things that I had done. So it's a willingness to, to pitch in. It's learning, how certain, certain sports work or they function. How you work as an athletic trainer for different things that you're not typically used to. I don't think you all have figure skating at your school. I don't think. Do you have table tennis at your school? Maybe a club, right? But nothing, nothing like that. So you kind of learn. But do you all have gymnastics? I think. Do you not have gymnastics? So that was another thing. The gymnastics with the Nastia Luke and gymnastics stuff that she had. So I mean, we were literally out on the floor, stationed right next to. I had the parallel bars. No, uneven bars is what I had. They, so we were stationed right. You're right there, with them, and that was really neat. So again, it's. It's gaining the experiences and working with different folks. I met a lot of different folks that way. I met a lot of folks from Cone Health and the hospital. Those folks helped me get student internships because the one person who was the director doing the scheduling for the physical therapist from the hospital, I got to know him real well. So I made a lot of contacts that way. So it's not just working. And performing your athletic training duties, but more or less that networking and communicating, with other practicing professionals, and then learning how it works. So, again, it's, for me, I just said, hey, I want to do this. I went and volunteered. I scheduled out my time, and I made it work. And, there are experiences that have been absolutely fantastic and you can ask Hannah, these are things that I talked about in my classes. So they're experiences that I learned from, and and I share with others. So that's really my the big thing with the Olympic stuff and the gymnastics and looking at the table tennis. Which if you've ever watched table tennis and these kids can play. They're young. They're like 14, 15 years old, and they're phenomenal. So, but yeah, so that's kind of it. I mean, that's kind of it in a nutshell as far as how how I got involved. It's just you got to volunteer your time, and it's not paid. So but those are the experiences. Anything? Any questions that folks might have?
I have a question about your resume at the beginning of these experiences, and what it kind of looked like, uh, when you started to apply for these experiences, or if it was mostly based on your network.
So it was mostly based on my network. Um, I have, and again, because of these networking things that I've done, I mean, I've gotten calls to cover a variety of other things. I mean, I've covered the state games for wrestling, for high school wrestling, for the North Carolina High School Athletic Association. I've done that. I've covered some minor league baseball stuff. Your name gets out there. When you do these things, your name gets out there, and you would be surprised, how many people, a doctor will say, hey, Craig, this high school is looking for, somebody to cover a game. They're looking for somebody to cover at the community college. I remember getting a call saying, Craig, can you cover a basketball game at Davidson County Community College? So yeah, you get yourself out there. Now that was a paid thing. Some of these other things were paid, but the big things, and I will tell you, these big things are like, if you're working state games, it's all volunteer. I mean, these are volunteer experiences. Now, I know one of my colleagues worked at the Atlanta Olympics. She had to go out to Colorado, went out to the Olympic Training Center, had to spend 2 weeks out there to train, for athletic training and go through a whole 2 week program. That was on her own dime. Nobody paid for it. She paid for it. But if you go out there and you do that training, then you are eligible to go work. Go work as an athletic trainer at the Olympics. And again, you pay. And yeah, you get the gear and stuff, but it depends on where it's at. But you'll have to pay for some of it. And one thing I will tell you this is I just coached last fall. I coached with the Special Olympics. I coached softball. So I spent about 3 months with a softball team, a Special Olympics softball team who represented Davidson County, and so I was a coach and also our athletic trainer, and that was great. You want to talk about something fun? That was awesome. Probably one of the best. I'll be honest with you. That was one of the best experiences that I ever had working as a coach and also as an athletic trainer, dealing with kids who got they're not kids actually, they're adults, who got hurt. So, but I did that, and I'll actually be doing that again next fall. And again, that's not a paid thing. So I do it because I love it. What else? Anything else that I can?
I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you navigate taking these experiences, and also like being like there with your family and things like that as well, like that work-life balance?
Yeah, CJ, that's a great question because it's something that I had to learn. I will be honest with you. When I was, a lot younger, I mean, I'll tell you, I'm 51 years old. I've been in the field for 28, 29 years. When I first started, I worked constantly. I was at the school. I worked every weekend. I passed up on a lot of things. I sacrificed a lot of things just to cover because that's what I felt like I needed to do. I think the nice thing for you all getting into the field now, I think there is more of a focus on a work-life balance because there's some stipulations, right? So, I know as working, as going through grad school and doing your clinicals, I think you guys can only do so many hours. Isn't that correct? You're only allowed so many hours. But once you get out, it's wherever you go. Again, you want to really do a good job. I would tell you, before I was married, my wife, when we dated 5 years, and I spent a lot of time at the school. I spent a lot of time on field, spent a lot of time volunteering and doing different things, and I always told her, I said, these are things that I need to do to help me grow as a professional, right? And to get my foot in the door. And it all depends on how much you want to do, right? I know people who are athletic trainers. They work at a high school. They go, they do it, and that's it. They're not involved in anything. I had done my dissertation was on the likelihood of behaviors of first responders versus athletic trainers, and I went and presented a lot of that data after I had completed it to our state association. I presented it to some of our. We had a white sheet, a white paper of all my data. We shared to legislators when I went to Capitol Hill, and shared it with lobbyists. I conducted a study with two former colleagues that were at Western Carolina at one time, and we did a study looking at the economic variables to hiring athletic trainers in the state of North Carolina, and we published that that information in a journal. And lo and behold, about a year or two after it got published, I got word, and somebody had sent to me that when Erskine Bowles, who was our governor, at the time when all of the North Carolina school systems went to a graduate program for athletic training. So this is probably about 6 years ago, when all of the athletic training programs in the state in the state education system, that's UNC Chapel Hill, that is UNC Pembroke, UNC Charlotte, UNC Wilmington, all of the schools in North Carolina that are state associated schools, when they wrote the report as to provide why the rationale as to why they need to go to a master's program, our data was cited in the report that went to the governor. So that was a really neat thing. So again, I did it, one, because I love it. Did I do some of it because professionally as a professor I need to do some research and, yes, tenure and scholarship, and yeah, so that's I did. But I also on my own did an AED study and collected AED information in the state of North Carolina. So I've just always found ways to try to do that. But as my kids got older, I really did learn how to back down a little bit. And then you just do that. And I'm at the point now in my career, I cover very, very little athletic training. I do very little athletic training coverage, just basically unless it's needed at Guilford, because my son's a sophomore at NC State, and my daughter is a junior in high school, and I very rarely miss their stuff now. I did miss my daughter's softball game the other night because Guilford was in the Elite Eight of the NCAA Division III NCAA tournament, and we're going to Indiana to the Final Four. So go Quakers. But I did, so I missed that. So, I'm the faculty athletic rep at the institution at Guilford, and I made a decision based off of, this is something professionally that I need to do. I need to be there. I helped, with crowd control stuff. I helped with funneling people in. So we had a whole team of people that was working. It wasn't required. I didn't get paid extra to do it. But again, it's, you'll figure out kind of what is important and what's not, right? But you have to get a work-life balance. Otherwise, it'll burn you out. I can tell you. I did not work summer camps. I worked, I worked so long hours during the year, and when it came to summer, I said, I'm not working summer camps. So that was me saying, I'm done, I'm burnt, I need my 2-3 months off. I very rarely worked summer camps because for me, that was how I kind of helped my work-life balance. Told my wife, I said, I'm not working summer camps, and I was home. So, but yeah, you gotta kind of figure, you'll figure it out, right? You definitely do figure it out.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anything else? Does anybody want to get into teaching? Is there anybody that has any desire? TC, you have a kind of an interest in teaching, maybe going on and pursuing a doctoral degree?
Maybe at some point, yes.
Yeah. How many high school? Anybody want to work in high school? Maybe. Professional sports? Okay. I've got a couple friends who've worked in professional sports. Wasn't not for me. Definitely not for me. You want to talk about a work-life balance? So CJ, I'll go back to that. I would do it if you have any desire to get married and have any desire of having children. Go do that early, and then get out, because it is time consuming, without a doubt. But rewarding if you want to travel all over the place. College athletics, I'm guessing. Probably quite a few of you. College athletics. I will tell you this. If you want to put your training, your education, your skills, and put it to the test, work at a high school. Because when you go to a high school, you are the person making all the decisions. Okay. Um, when I worked at the high school. I remember my first time stepping out on a high school football field. Went out there, kid was hurt, and got out there. Coaches come running out there, look at me. The kid was, had a little numbness in his legs, and coaches were like, "Craig, what do we do?" And I'll never forget that moment because that was the moment. It's like, oh shit, I got to make this decision. This is on me, right? And I grew up fast, right? I grew up really fast because everybody came to me, hey, what is this? What do we do? What can we do? What can we not? And it was really hard for me when I went to the college because when I went to the college, I was so used to making every medical decision for all of the student athletes when I worked at a high school. I went to the college, Saturday, a Saturday football game. I go running out there. I had three doctors running out there with me. And it's like, okay, if I'm going to go do an anterior drawer test, but you're right here, so go ahead. Um, so that was a little different. So if you really want, to be the person, right? Small college, small university settings, where you're making the decisions. You're gonna grow up. You grow up quick professionally. Okay, without a doubt.
So
TC,
I have a question about
yeah.
like how to build a relationship like among athletes, coaches, like during such a short time period of the Olympics.
How was the
How
relationships?
how do you make a relationship like how do you make a good relationship like such a short time period of the like
Oh
Olympics?
gosh, reach out. So get people's. You get their cell numbers. You go in and you meet with them and work with them. Ask to work alongside them. Wherever they are. Don't forget person's name. When you go in. Again, you be professional um, you know, and reach out. Email. So email somebody. It's hey, thank you very much. It was a pleasure. I emailed quite a few folks that I worked with, physical therapists, doctors. Said hey, it was a pleasure working with you. Folks that I didn't even know that I got to work with at for the Olympics, or for the whatchamacallit, the figure skating. Which again was the preset for the Olympics. So it's networking and reaching out and constantly sending, hey, thank you, great to meet you. That have you guys talked a lot about networking and building relationships with other folks? Is that stuff you've worked on in classes? TC, does that answer your question? Did I
Yes.
Okay, yeah,
Yes.
it's constant reaching out, constant communication, networking with those folks. If they call you, there's times where I've had those folks call me and say, "Hey, Craig, I need a favor." Okay, yeah. So you do what you can to help them out, and that's how you start building relationships with folks, especially in the medical community. I will tell you, it doesn't have to be a relationship with just athletic trainers. Make your relationships with physicians, PAs, PTs. When I got to the high school, there was no physician on the sideline. They had a physician that was an orthopedic in town that would come out periodically. So I walked into the athletic director's office and I said, "Hey, Coach, I said I need a hat, I need a collared shirt, and I need a T-shirt that has Central Davidson Spartans on it." And he's like, "What for?" I said, "Because I'm going to meet our soon to be orthopedic doctor who's going to be on our sidelines." And so what did I do? I rode right over to the orthopedic office right here in town, and I brought over that stuff and walked into the office. I asked to meet with Dr. Reagan, who it was. I introduced myself. I brought him the garb and said, "Hey, I'd love for you to come out on Friday nights and come out and work." And gosh, he came out for the first 2-3 years. He came out. We worked together. He was on the sideline, and then it was actually after about 2.5 years, he would call me and say, "Craig," he goes, "Listen, I'm not going to be there tonight, but man," he goes, "you're great. You do it. Call me if you need me. I don't need to be there. You're good. Go ahead." I had 5 ACL tears in one football season. I'd call him up. I say, I've got another one for you. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah. Send him down the next morning. He would text me, or actually he'd page me at that time, because this is back in the 90s, mid 90s. We had pagers back then. And he's like, yep, you're right. You got this one. So, that was my network. Like, I had to step out and create a sports medicine team at the high school. So yeah, you develop relationships, and you just have to, you have to keep calling on them. What else? Anything else?
Got a question.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like we're definitely trained and we kind of have an expectation to work really close with coaches, especially
Yep.
to avoid miscommunication. And you said that you weren't allowed to talk to the coaches for the Olympic teams. How did you navigate not having miscommunication when sometimes like how we interpret things and our understanding of
Yep.
things are different than the physicians?
Yes, we had to go to the physician. So that was a new model that we had to abide by. That when we worked with the athlete, we had to share that information with the physician, and the physician was the one that was talking to all the coaches and the International Olympic Committee. We would work with the athlete. The doctors would then come over, and we would tell them what we found, what we got. They would also look at them, and we would stand there with them and listen to them talk to the coaches and stuff. But until we were given permission, we were not allowed to address the coaches and say, hey, this is what I think it is. Everything came from the physician, and that was just a rule. And the other thing that was interesting, Madison, this is a really good question. The other interesting thing was, we had when the if an individual went down on the ice, they had a C-spine injury. We were supposed to let the physician go to the head. Okay? Not us. We were supposed to let the physician go to the head. And when we were training on the ice, I said, and I raised my hand. I even talked to our team physician, the director for this, and I said, just like you said, I said, the thing is, I said, I told Bart, Dr. Field, I said, we're trained that when I go out there, if it's a suspected head injury, I am going right to the head and stabilizing. And I said, I am not letting go until we see collar and we spine board and strap this person down on the gurney. Like, I'm not letting go. I'm just telling you. And so he went to, because we were told, even if we had the head, we had to switch and let the doctor take the head. I'm like, I'm not leaving the head. Like, once I get on the head, I'm staying on the head. And so we worked with the EMTs, because we had to work with the local EMTs as well, and the paramedics. And we all trained together, the paramedics, and had a great relationship with them. And we talked, we communicated with one another, and we got it cleared up. They said, whoever gets there, if it's a suspected C-spine and you get on the head, you stay. But if you don't feel comfortable going to the head, let the doctor take the head. I said, well, that's fine. I said, not a problem. So that was something that we did address, and I wasn't afraid to address it, because, again, that was something that we're trained to do, right, as athletic trainers. Once you take that head, do not let go, right, until you see collar them, spine board them, and and then you can switch, right? So does that answer that question?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
I kind of have one more question. Oh, sorry,
I
Glenn,
think
did you
Glenn.
have a
Yeah, I
question?
think Glenn, but I can't hear Glenn. Doesn't show that Glenn's muted, but we can't hear him.
Glenn,
Glenn,
you
you
might
can
have to
also
click.
put your question in the chat.
that too. There's an arrow next to the mute button, and then you might have to change it to, if you're using headphones, you might have to change it to that.
I'll just take them off.
Oh, yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. We got you, Glenn.
Okay, all right. I have to leave in a few minutes, so I didn't want it to sound like I was eavesdropping on you guys or anything like that. But I want to say two things. One, Craig, I think you did a great presentation. I'm the vice president of the World Federation of Athletic Training.
Oh, great. Thank you. Hey, Glenn. Nice to
So-
meet you.
Not the vice president. I'm the past president. Sorry, of the World Federation, and I just wanted to congratulate all of you. I got the invitation. I sent it to some of my students. Unfortunately, they're all busy tonight at some events, so they weren't able to come in. But I thought I'd step in and say congratulations to the students for doing this, and I thank you very much for inviting other schools. I think that this is going to catch on. The more you guys do it, I think your numbers are going to increase more and more. And so I just wanted to say thanks very much for doing that. And Craig, I thought you did a great job of giving them some mentorship. So
Thank you, Glenn. Appreciate that.
your experiences at the Olympics ring a lot of bells. I've been to 5 different Olympic games as well. So it's
Yeah, I like I said, if we host the Olympics again, host them here, I would without a doubt go, and work it. But the U.S., the national figure skating stuff, and working with the International Olympic Committee, even though it wasn't the true Olympics, but working with the IOC was really, definitely interesting, right? And you really learn how to communicate in a totally different element. So
great. I got to step away, so I wanted to just say thanks very much for everything you guys have done, and I look forward to your next presentations.
Thank you so much. Before Mr. Grant leaving, can we take a screenshot? Then if somebody take a short time on the camera,
Sure.
we appreciate that.
You want to turn these lights on?
Yeah, if anybody who could turn their camera on, turn it on for just a moment, so we can take kind of a group photo.
All right, and I'll count down from 3. All right, so
oh, there's a lot more on here. This. It's just like my students when we were in COVID. They people wanted to keep the camera off.
all right, hey, everyone's. Oh yeah, we'll wait a little. All right, everyone good? Still getting more.
Oh, look at that. It's great.
1, 2, 3. All right, and then I'll take one on my phone too. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Good.
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Enjoy. Good luck.
Take
in
care.
Bye.
So, folks, in just finishing with you all, I would tell you, don't ever hesitate. If you have any questions, I don't know all of you, but if you email me and said, Craig, you spoke to our group, I've graduated, I'm certified, I'm looking for a job. Any idea, any ideas, or do you know anything? Feel free to reach out. Okay, feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to provide any information of positions that I know. That's again, it's part of it. I was there as in your shoes and trying to land my first job, and I took my first job at a high school, and I made 10 cents an hour back in 1996. So it was a teacher athletic training position. I taught as the athletic trainer, and I made 10 cents an hour when I figured up all my hours. So we've come a long way for athletic training. So this is fantastic. But yes, absolutely. So consider me in your network. So if you ever reach out, I'll get back to you. Okay. All right, Hannah, are we good? Or TC, are we set? Anything else?
Yeah, I think we're great. Thank you so much again for coming. And if nobody else has any more questions, then we're done.
All right, great. All right, folks. Best of luck to
Thank you.
everybody. Enjoy
Thank
the
you.
rest of the semester.
Thank you.